Welcome for this practice. We're going to be addressing some of the pragmatics of daily life in terms of getting the body ready for or recovering from certain activities. And also we'll put this practice together in small vignettes, a little vignette of yoga and then some stillness, a little vignette and then some stillness. Along the way, you're going to hear me refer to this inner witness, this inner ability to see or come back to awareness. That stillness or that witness is not coming and going. We are remembering it. It is always abiding. We are that which is coming and going. Like the beads on a mala, this awareness is the string between those beads. So let's get into the practice together now. I'm glad you're here. Good morning and welcome for practice. It is a crisp fall morning here in Oregon. It's also very sunny, which is lovely. Many of us likely have garden chores to accomplish. And in the transition from the summer garden to the fall garden, there are things that we like to take care of here. And that may involve then upper back, neck, and shoulder work, lower back, hips, pelvis to get your garden things accomplished. So keeping that in mind, let's take a comfortable seat and come into your sense of where you are landing right here, right now. If you'd like to, you can rest your hands in your lap. Imagine that you're just kind of greeting your body from the inside as you arrive. Sometimes like to use the analogy of if you were landing from a hot air balloon, that hot air balloon is coming down to the ground. Or if you imagine yourself to be like the snow particles inside of a snow globe, and those are landing, coming back down to the ground inside the snow globe. Give yourself a gentle landing, a place to arrive here in your body. And since you have a regular practice and you consistently find yourself on your yoga mat, for those of you who are here for class today, you may also sense this arriving is like a reunion with yourself. It's familiar. May it be filled with joy, the history of your commitment to your practice, and today's commitment to your practice as well. Now I'd like you to slowly deepen your breathing. And deep means lower in your body geographically, so down into the pelvic basin. And we're going to do a breathing practice that will require some counting. It'll take us a few minutes to do it. And after that, we'll sit again in quiet before we have the invocation to get underway with the whole class. So for right now, I'd like you to sense, can you bring your breathing to a little deeper place in your physical body? Encourage it to be smooth. And start balancing your inhale and your exhale with each other. Now, whatever the length of your breath is, I'm going to ask you to assign it a count of 8. So according to your pace, count to 8 during the inhale and to 8 during the exhale. This is because we're going to be dividing from 8 to 4 to 2, and so I want you to use a consistent number. I'm not saying that you need to lengthen your breath to be 8 counts, but that the length that you're currently breathing at right now, that you find to be your even inhale, even exhale, let's assign to that the count of 8 and do 4 breath cycles with inhale 8 and exhale 8. You may have 1 or 2 more of those breath cycles. When you complete 4 breaths at the 8 count, then do 4 breaths at a 4 count. Same quantity of air is moving, but make it a little more vigorous. At the end of the 4th breath for 4 counts, then momentarily pause and let your body recalibrate. Okay, so that's a preview of about half of the exercise we're going to do. So now we'll do 4 breaths for the 8 count, 4 breaths for the 4 count. We'll do 8 breaths at just 2 counts. And then we'll come back to 4 breaths for 4 counts and 4 breaths for 8 counts. So it goes 8, 4, 2, 4, 8. And the numbers of breaths are double at the 2, but otherwise it's 4 breaths, 4 breaths, 8 breaths, 4 breaths, 4 breaths. Okay, so let's try that out. 4 breaths at the count of 8. And then 4 breaths at the count of 4. And now 8 breaths at the count of 2. And 4 breaths at the count of 4. And then 8 breaths, 4 breaths at the count of 8. And then deeply relax. And then please raise your hands to your heart. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Punakto Saviryang Karavavahi Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidveshavai Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saviryang Karava Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidveshavai Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Punaktu Saviryang Karavavai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidveshavai Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Hari Om. With your exhale, you may bow your head to your heart. Release your hands. Please open your eyes. Okay, so in the seasonal transition, sometimes when you're teaching a yoga class, you teach about the doshas in the season and sometimes about the activities people are doing in the season so their body can support them in those activities. As always, I want to remind you that the physical practice of yoga, of asana, is also a gateway to experiencing yoga, that state of union and interconnectedness with everything that is, all that has been, and all that will be. So the physical practice ought not be sort of revered or held up on a pedestal as we're going to, let's say, perfect it or attain it. But the practice actually is a gateway for several things. One is to balance our doshas in the transitions of the seasons. Another might be the activities that we're going to be doing. Today it's a gardening day or a project day for some of us. And then the third and really most important is that the asana practice is our gateway into yoga. Every time we come to the mat, we want to be remembered and remembering, smriti, this inner essence that we are. So with that in mind, I'd like you to come to table pose in a kind of cat-cow position. The reason I say a kind of cat-cow position is that in table pose, some people teach it where the arms and thighs are kind of strictly under your table, but I teach it with a little bit more space so that your cat and your cow are going to have a couple different emphases. So one is that in cat pose, we'll emphasize the lower hemisphere of the body. We'll be pushing back into cat pose. In cow pose, we'll emphasize the upper hemisphere of the torso, and we'll be moving the cow pose a little bit forward. So place your hands underneath your shoulders and your knees a few inches back behind your hips. And then when you inhale into cat pose, press back a bit so that your hips are kind of over your knees. When you exhale, come into cow pose, bring your heart forward so your arms are now vertical again. And then inhale to cat pose. And exhale to cow pose, coming forward with the heart. Inhale to cat. Exhale to cow. One more time, inhale to cat pose. I'm going to add to your sequence. Exhale, child's pose. Inhale, undulate all the way to cow pose. Exhale, bow your heart between your thumbs. Inhale, cobra pose. Exhale, knees, chest, and chin. Inhale, cow pose. And exhale, undulate your way back into child's pose. Use the entire exhale to arrive. Inhale, undulate forward through cat pose to cow pose. Exhale, knees, chest, and chin. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, knees, chest, and chin. Inhale, cow pose. And exhale all the way back through cat pose to child's pose. Once more, inhale, undulate forward. Exhale, inchworm pose. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, inchworm. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat into child's pose. Walk your hands back towards your knees and come up to kneeling. Rest your hands in your lap. Now we're going to take a similar kind of undulating process from there. So just notice what happens for you when there's that synchronizing and there's a slight change of pace. The breath can be consistently paced, but sometimes the numbers of movements in a breath are going to be one, and sometimes it'll be 2 or 3 movements. So now come into Sphinx pose on your elbows. Like this. And just check that where you are on your yoga mat, when you're in the Sphinx pose on your elbows, You're also able to curl the toes under and still be on the mat, like my feet are showing right here. And then in that curl under, you can lift into a dolphin plank pose or a sphinx plank pose. And you can also come down easily from there. And check that where you are, you can pick up your hips and you can glide back into a kind of pranam, and that you have the space and the agility for those movements there. Nandita, did you want to offer any teachings? You're staring at a ghost. Okay. All right. So come to Sphinx pose. Let's inhale, raise the chest and heart up. You can even stretch your throat. And then exhale to plank. Inhale to Sphinx. Exhale, pranam. Inhale, Sphinx. Exhale, plank. Inhale, Sphinx. Exhale, pranam. Inhale, Sphinx. Exhale, plank. Inhale, Sphinx. And exhale, pranam. Okay, walk your hands back until you come into child's pose. And then walk your hands back and come up to kneeling, up to Vajrasana. No, don't chew on that cable. No, no, no. Thank you. I was talking to a cat, for those of you who don't know. Okay, so we're going to stay with that kind of undulating process for a bit. And when we add things to it, it's not to challenge your memory so much, though it might challenge your memory. It's to increase the diversity of the ways in which you're moving your body. So we're moving prana around in the body. So now I'm going to ask you to have the space on either side of you for the arms to go wide. We're going to come up to arrow pose. I call this when you raise the arms up. Here we're sitting in hero's pose. So when we take the arms up, let's call that arrow pose. We'll fold forward in a pranam, different kind of pranam, a little variation. And then you'll see us taking the next step from there. So let's do arms out to the side. Inhale, raise your arms up slowly into arrow pose. Exhale, pranam. Elbows down, inhale to cat on the elbows. Exhale, pranam. Drop your hips back towards your heels. Inhale, arrow pose. Exhale, press the arms wide. Let's bring the fingertips down behind your toes, touch the floor. Inhale, open your chest, your heart, and your throat. And exhale, child's pose. Now where the hands rest near your feet. Inhale, rise up, sweep the arms wide, arrow pose. Exhale, pranam. This time the hips are on the heels. Touch your elbows to the floor. Inhale to cat pose. Exhale, pranam. Drop your hips to your heels. Straighten your elbows. Keep your hands on the floor. Inhale, rise up to arrow pose. Exhale, take the arms wide, come down. So your fingertips are going to touch the floor behind the toes. And then inhale, open your chest, your heart, and your throat. And exhale, child's pose. And keep your hands near to your feet. One more time, inhale, rise up. Exhale, pranam. Inhale, cat. Exhale, pranam. Hips to heels, straighten your elbows. Keep the sides of your fingers on the floor. Inhale, rise up. And exhale, arms wide. Bring your fingertips down to the floor behind you and inhale to roll open. And exhale to child's pose, hands near to your feet. And then come up to Vajrasana, or resting here for a moment. Sometimes called thunderbolt pose, since we're sitting on the heels. And notice how things are feeling, even if for the moment you have a little more mental clarity, physical vitality. Notice even a subtle change. And now we're going to take that, so we're going to put some pieces together. And as we're going through it, when we go down to this pranam, instead of the hands will go down like this in arrow pose, but we'll then make them flat on the floor so that we can come forward, and we'll be including the inchworm pose again, which is kind of, I call it inchworm or knees, chest, and chin. It's also sometimes called a prostration pose because you're coming down before the prostration. If you have seen monks using prostration techniques in India or other places, they have a lot of strength in their upper body because the prostration is something that's physically done in a dedicated, devoted way, and it does build strength overall. So let's start from where we are right now. Turn your palms face out. Inhale, raise up to arrow pose. Exhale, pranam. Palms flat. Inhale, undulate through cat pose to cow pose. Exhale, inchworm. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, inchworm. Inhale, cow pose. Exhale, cat pose into child's pose. Inhale, arrow pose. Exhale, arms wide and down, touch the floor behind you, or use a couple blocks to make the floor higher. Inhale, open your chest, heart, and throat. And exhale to Vajrasana. Now we're going to repeat that. Arms wide, try to balance your inhale with your exhale. This is our last time through. So inhale. Pranam. Palms flat, inhale, cat into cow. Exhale, inchworm or prostration. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, inchworm. Inhale, cow. exhale, cat into child's pose. Inhale, arrow pose. And exhale, arms wide, fingers to the floor or to your blocks behind you. Inhale, open. And exhale, Vajrasana. So insofar as gardening, for example, one of the activities, or maybe you're still hiking or cycling, perhaps those are some of your things today, or other projects. Insofar as that's going to need some agility and some mindfulness, then you have kind of laid the foundation for that. We also are going to address now the hips and the pelvis. So Vata season, when it comes in, makes us feel less grounded. It's helpful to have a way to feel grounded. So we do want to address the lower hemisphere of the body. So I'd like you to come to your elbows and knees again, and I'm going to face forward so you can see what will happen with the legs here. So if you come down to your elbows and knees, like you're in that, we did it a bit ago from Sphinx pose, right? Then I'd like you to step your right leg out to the side. So the right foot can point forward. Perhaps you're on the wide side of your mat like I am, but if you're not, it's also fine, of course. As your foot points forward, look over and lift the inner arch up from the floor and make that lift come up into the upper inner thigh. And then glide your sitting bones a little bit to the left. So you can imagine that the right hip is leveling off with your left hip. Let the right sitting bone be equally heavy to the left sitting bone. You might say it like your right hip is not hiked up. And then breathe smoothly. Imagine the breath even traveling down the inseam of your right leg. So from the upper inner arch to the upper inner thigh. You can imagine that as a pathway for the breath. We can practice welcoming the sensations as they are, whatever they happen to be. Now, as you keep the hips and pelvis level, place your right palm flat down. Take the left hand on the floor next to you and twist your upper body to your left. So getting a little bit of thoracic rotation in here is going to change how you experience your inner right thigh, inner right leg. So keep the breath consistent and smooth. So that might be the kind of unchanging element, right? Even though your body is moving from one position to the other, the breath has that continuity and consistency. And then let's exhale smoothly, come back to center where you've got both elbows on the floor again. And then roll your hips back towards your left heel. So the arms are going to come into a kind of pranam. Turn the right toes up towards the ceiling. And then roll yourself forward again and come into table pose. Step the right knee in, step your left leg out, Come down to your elbows. And as you've come down, check again that you can look back at your left inner arch. So like the upper inner arch there is close back to the heel. The high part of your arch is probably closer to your heel than to your toe. So think of that as the upper inner arch and bring that into the upper inner left thigh. And let the left sitting bone get heavy, similar to the right. So we don't want the left hip to be particularly higher than the right hip here, if possible. You can level them off. Let's imagine gliding the right sitting bone to the right. The left sitting bone is following the right sitting bone. And sense that you're lengthening the inseam of the left leg. And then place your right hand to the right, turn your left palm to be flat down. And as you rotate your thoracic spine to your right, you may discover there's more to listen to in the left inner thigh. As you're breathing in and breathing out, again, keep the breath consistent, even though the sensations and the poses are changing. The breath is that constant, as like a thread is on the mala, the beads are the beads, and the thread goes through all of them. And then return to center. Place your elbows and your palms in Sphinx pose. Drop your hips back towards your right heel. Straighten your elbows. The left leg can roll so your toes point up towards the ceiling. And then place your hands and shift your body weight forward. Step the left knee in and come to Vajrasana. And again, take notice, how are things becoming more integrated or settling or awakening within you? And then take this to a wide-legged forward bend. So stand up, please, and step your feet out to the side, maybe about the length of one leg. Come on down to Prasarita Padottanasana. As you release the weight of your torso, go ahead and keep the legs equally straight and strong, but roll your hips a little bit side to side. So as you rotate your hips to the left hip goes high, the right hip goes low, but the legs remain straight and strong. Likewise, when you go to your right, the right hip comes high, the left hip goes low, but the legs are still straight and strong. So you're rotating over the top of the thigh bone in the hip socket. Do that in a way where you feel like you've got some respect and sensitivity to your hip joints. And also some curiosity. Does one side go farther than the other side? Is one more easeful than the other? And once you have a sense of that, then bring yourself to center. Come up to your fingertips. And now turn the right toes just a little bit out to the right and deeply bend your right knee. So you're going to come down to the right. And for some of you, you'll find that you can then put your elbows on the floor. Whereas for others, you're going to want to put some blocks in front of you on the floor there to then put your elbows on, or simply stay with two straight arms. As you bend your right knee, whatever amount you bend it, take your hips back and down. So your right heel has more of your body weight than your toes do. And then exhale, press into your right hip and your right foot, rise up to center, come to your fingertips, turn the left toes out slightly. And exhale, come down to your left. Drop your hips back and down so your body weight is more in your left heel than your toes. Let's keep the breath smooth and steady. And then exhale, press down into your left heel. Bring yourself up to center. You breathe in, turn the right toes out slightly. Exhale down to the right. Breathe in. Exhale, root into your right heel, rise up to center. Breathe in. Exhale down to your left. Breathe in. And exhale, rise up to center. Now shift your hands to your hips and rise all the way up to standing. And let's go heel, toe, come into mountain pose, which is like our equivalent of Vajrasana for being on the floor. When you come to mountain pose, rest into what is most alive for you right now in your body. So all the sensations, the breath, your heart rate, temperature, all those things are there. And then see if you can sense from where in you are you noticing all of that? From where in you are you sensing all of that is rising and passing? Who is the observer in you? You could say who or what is that witness? Okay, take a wide stance again. So that question when we're asking, like, what is that? It is the same witness that saw you making your way to the grocery store recently, or it saw you doing your gardening chores. That same witness that saw your, I often say this, your toes on the swing set in the sunshine as a child. So that ever abiding observer, that witness self, is like the thread on the mala also. Things are coming and going, yoga poses, breath cycles, kitties. And there's a constant that is observing. And that we want to know as yoga. You ready? There you go. All the way down. Thank you. Okay, so with the standing position, now we're going to again go side to side. We'll keep the breath consistent even as the poses are ever changing. Turn the left heel slightly out. Turn your right toes to the right. Join your palms together. Keep breathing in. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, side angle. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, rising warrior. Exhale, side angle. Inhale, rising warrior all the way up. And exhale, warrior two. Inhale, center. We'll go the other way. So turn your left foot out, turn the right heel out. So the breath is consistent, even if there's two moves put together, the breath is still consistent. Inhale. Warrior two. Side angle. Warrior two, Virabhadrasana two. Rising warrior. Side angle. Rising warrior. Warrior two. Inhale to center. Other side. Breathe in. Virabhadrasana two. Parsvakonasana. Virabhadrasana two. Rising. Parsvakonasana. Rising warrior. Warrior two. Center. Set up for the other side. Inhale. Warrior two. Side angle. Virabhadrasana two. Rising. Side angle. Warrior two. Center. And bow forward. Lift your hands to your hips. Rise up to standing. And we'll go heel toe into mountain pose. And as you stand in witness to the efforts you just made, the echo of those efforts in your body, and observing all of that, try to lean back into that witness that also saw you at different junctures in your life. You were more or less aware of it, but it has not come and gone from you. It has always been there, this inner witness. Okay, let's come down to the floor with 2 blankets. So what you'll do, I think it's easier if you come down to sit and then take the 2 blankets and get them ready. We'll put them stacked like a bolster. Put them under the knees, even though you're not going to be, your hips are going to go on these blankets. So what we'll do is lie down, reach for the 2 blankets, pick up your hips, scooch the blankets under your hips, and then bring your knees up to your chest. When the knees come up to the chest, you can hold the shins from the top side, but you can also hold between the hamstrings and the knees like this, which I find to be quite nice. As you bring the knees in, separate them a little bit so each knee goes to its own armpit. Now start to notice here if your body is able to exhale more completely, like a sense that your exhale is more complete, but it's also supported by gravity. And then what I'd like you to do is just take notice of that opportunity and bring that opportunity with you as we go. And the opportunity is a more complete exhale. And then cross your right ankle over your left knee, reach between the legs with your right hand. And as you hug your left knee a little bit towards your shoulder, you could also use your right forearm to press against your right inner thigh. Kind of encourage your right knee not to crowd your right shoulder. And see if here you can have the same benefit of your hips are slightly inverted. Are you able to have a more complete exhale? Now I'm going to ask you to hold the outside of your right ankle with your right hand, hold your right heel with your left hand, and try to keep your right leg where it is. As you lengthen your left leg out, you may need to bend the knee like I'm doing here. This is going to stretch your hip flexors and your psoas. So it's possible that you'll have to let the left knee bend a little bit to bring the back of your left heel down to the floor. And let's keep the right leg. It's kind of snug up in what we call figure 4 pose. So go ahead and keep it in that position. Sometimes we call it reclined pigeon pose. If you'd like, you can hold your right foot and with both hands, right hand and left hand, and give a little emphasis on your knee. It goes out to the side. Your heel comes towards your chest or your heart. And then lengthen through your left leg, reach for the back of your left hamstring, your left calf, your left heel. Inhale deeply, generously. And then exhale, bring your left knee back up to find your right ankle. And now this is called figure 4 pose. And let's take the figure 4 to an open position. So touch the left heel to the floor. Your left knee, excuse me, can be like bridge pose. Tip your right knee out to the side and look for the opening to happen at the front of your hip joints here. It's probably a more spacious experience of the inhale now. Can you still have a sense of the completeness of the exhale, particularly since it's a gravity-supported exhale? You're a little bit inverted. Okay, and then we're going to bring the right foot back down to the floor. So touch it down and bring your left knee up, cross your left ankle onto your right knee, reach between with your left hand, reach around with your right hand, press your left forearm against your left upper inner thigh. And say hello to your hip muscles, whatever they've been up to in daily life. As you're coming in, again, let it be a little bit snug and focus on that more complete exhale, not to the point of breathlessness, but to give yourself a sense that you're really able to let go. And then you welcome the next inhale generously, but without any urgency. Keeping your left ankle close by, go ahead and hold your left foot with your right hand. Hold the outside of your left ankle with your left hand, and then reach out through your right leg. And you may need to bend your knee initially to help bring the back of your heel down to the floor, because you might be connecting with your hip flexors or with your psoas muscle and realizing that, in fact, you did give them a workout yesterday and they are needing some attention today. And then please bring your right leg, make it a little bit longer. Inhale. And then exhale and float your right knee up. Now you've got this figure 4 pose again, and we're going to touch the right foot down like it's going to bridge pose. And press your left knee open to reach into your hip flexors in through here. Be generous with your inhale for your body and thoughtful with the exhale. And then please raise both knees back up to your chest. And hopefully the blanket, it's really just supporting your hips so that your knees drop in towards your shoulders with gravity, giving support right now. Now, using your abdominal muscles, we're going to do a little bit of twisting side to side. We will not be touching the floor. It's too far away for most of us, and it's not necessary to touch the floor. So we're going to be rotating down towards the armpit, coming back up, and then rotating to the other side, also towards the armpit. While you do this, I am going to ask you to keep your shoulders on the floor. So how far your knees go is going to be dependent on, can your shoulders stay grounded? So arms out in a T. With your exhale, begin going down side to side. the inhales to come to center. However far down you're going, don't judge or pressure or coerce anything. When your knees go down to one side and your hips are elevated, it's a different twist than you might experience in other variations of this twist. Let's keep the breath smooth and the movements in a rhythmic cadence between inhale and exhale. You can turn your head now opposite of your knees if you haven't yet. Go ahead and rotate your head left when your knees go right. And then your knees and your nose are going to cross each other in the center as you change sides. You might notice yourself getting more comfortable with the exhale into the exhale pause, maybe even a desire for greater stillness right there. No need to rush into the inhale, but to welcome the inhale when your body feels ready. So one more time to each side until you've done an even number of repetitions, left to right. And at that moment, then what you can do is touch your feet to the floor, lift your hips, slide the blankets out. So the blankets are now going to go right behind your hamstring, right behind the sitting bones. Take the legs out, arms out. Come to rest. So what we're going to do here is a little squeeze and release technique so that you come into a deeper sense of grounding. So with your inhale, squeeze your toes, your arches, and your feet. Exhale, relax them. Inhale, squeeze your toes, arches, feet, ankles, calves. Exhale, relax them. Let's go up to the knees this time. Inhale, toes to knees. Exhale, relax. Inhale, toes up to the thighs. Exhale to relax. This time, inhale from the toes up to the legs, to the butt and the hips and your fists. Exhale, relax your fists, your hips, your butt, your legs, your toes. Again, inhale this time up to your belly button and your elbows. Exhale, relax from your elbows and your navel all the way down to your fingers, heels, and toes. This time we're going to squeeze all the way to the solar plexus, including the forearms. And exhale to relax. And now the chest and the heart, the biceps and the triceps from the toes. Start from the toe. And relax. Let's add on the shoulders, the collarbones, the upper back. Breathe in. Exhale to relax. Okay. And let's add the neck, the throat, and the face, starting from the toes. And exhale to relax. We'll do that one more time, a whole body squeeze. And exhale to relax. And then come to Shavasana. And even if you began a practice today to say, oh, let me take care of my doshas or my digestion or my insomnia or your lower back or your garden, when you come to Shavasana, let it really be about this diving into that inner reflectivity to sense your reunion now with the inner witness. There's no effort that you need to make for that reunion. Simply resting into, and more the process of subtracting distractions or resistance. Invite the whole of your body, the entirety of your body, to be deeply restful. Allow yourself to drop in, to rest down towards the ground. And if thoughts come and go, to give them little to no attention. Allow that deepening to permeate more thoroughly. Your body's getting heavier with relaxation. Notice when you're dropping in and down, what kind of falls away? What is easily surrendered. When the body gets a little heavier, the overall felt sense of connection with the ground will deepen. Allow your mind to take refuge in that as well. You may see that thoughts have fallen away. You may see that some thoughts still come and go, but they are less interesting to you, less distractible. Allow the mind to stay grounded in the physical body and just come into awareness of your physical body. And noticing if circulation or prana feel more balanced overall. Energy might feel more evenly distributed. And begin to wiggle your toes and your fingers. Roll your head side to side. Let's bend the knees. You can put the blankets aside if you like and roll sideways. Rest there on your right side. When it's time for you to come up to sit, then make the transition when your body feels ready. Transition up to your seat. Rest your hands in your lap. And drop into the inner witness, that in you, which is awareness itself. It could gaze upon the activities of yesterday or a decade back or in childhood, and that gazing upon that awareness principle, that hasn't changed. It is not diminished. It can't be expanded by you. We, the personhood that we are, can connect more to it. We can dissolve the barriers between it and who we think we are, but it, in its immense suchness, is not changing, is not coming and going. Be with the presence that is awareness. Even if little miniature radio broadcasts start coming through, just as the sky doesn't mind when the bird passes through. Continue to simmer, knowing that the time you spend simmering in meditation is that this is where your brain is getting the updates, not just a glimpse of awareness, but consciously, intentionally resting in that awareness. Is your hand to your heart. Whether your practice has been to help you with your house projects, your gardening, your school studies, or to reconnect to this indwelling essence, whatever has brought you here. And we are here connected into this wholeness or this consciousness. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnata Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishate. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Hari Om. Thank you very much, everyone. Namaste. Thank you for joining us with this practice. I'm glad you're able to be here. Some of the students at the end of class, they said, oh, what a connection they had to their witness, a really strong connection to their witness self. So when we do a practice where there's these little vignettes of activity and then stillness, we do want to sense that witness piercing through and not leaving. In fact, it's never left you. We are the ones coming and going from it. So may you stay connected. Thank you very much. And by the way, don't forget to leave us questions and comments down below the video. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please do that too. See you next time.